Noel. Hey, how's it going?
You.
She's one of my buddies. She's one of my favorite people, but it took her 6 months to finally watch us. So a big shout out to Noel. She's on your friend list on Facebook.
Is she one of your former wives?
She's one of my former wives.
Okay. There's not any awkwardness between you because you were married and now you're Splitsville? A lot of people. Did you get your get from the RCC or from Rabbi Yohana?
Oh, you see how he just wants to go into that so bad. You were so busy on your blog this last week. I don't know when you had time to do anything. You know, you had like this whole drama going with the Sefer Torahs, right? And then you had this interview with this other guy, and then you had that woman that was here, and you had to write up like 60 different ways to explain that out. And you were just a busy guy.
I was a busy bee.
Busy bee, huh? Okay.
Hey folks, welcome to Torah Talk. I'm Levi Ben Abraham, aka Luke Ford, with Rabbi Rabs. And
hello, everybody, and welcome to Interfaith Talks. And I'm Rabbi Rabs, and this is Levi Ben Abraham.
And did you have anything you wanted to clean up from last week?
Yes, I have quite a bit. Can I start?
Yes, please.
All right. First of all, we were talking last week about. I mentioned this woman. You had a guest who was here, did you not?
I did have a guest who was here. Now I remember. That's right. Like my mind's being so much on Torah that I forget about the beautiful young woman who came here for an interview about her dating column. But
right.
Now that you remind me, I can still remember like.
I bet you still have her cup and you haven't washed it yet.
Yeah, her lips were up. No, her lips were on a different cup.
So
I'm not some kind of pervert.
If you watched the very beginning of last week's Torah Interfaith Talks, that we were discussing, he had just had an interview with this woman prior to me coming in. Mm-hmm. And I said that, because I was just watching it briefly right before I popped over here, and I was based on my initial thoughts, and my initial thoughts were that you wanted to pick up on this chick.
Yeah!
And that you wanted, that you wanted to date her, you wanted to get something going with her, right?
Yeah, that's what you said.
That's what I said. That was my initial thing.
Yeah.
And then I watched it a few times, and I watched her. I studied the whole, and I want to take that back. I don't agree with that anymore.
Wow.
I have a whole new perspective.
Awesome.
It has to, because you have to know you deeper. And I read your book, right? And I've had these 6 months of interlude with you, right?
Yeah.
And so this is my new thing. You have a huge Howard Stern influence, just as I do. Do you not? Would you agree to that?
Sure.
Okay, you have a Howard Stern influence. One of the things Howard Stern loves to do, when he was married, he used to brag about how he kept fidelity. I don't know how you say it.
Faithful to his wife.
He was faithful to his wife, but at the same time, that studio was filled with bikini broads.
Right.
And he'd be doing the what was it called? Butt Bango Fiesta or whatever. And he would spank them and then you have pay-per-view to watch him spanking these chicks. And he was married, right? Mm-hmm. And he would bring them in, and he would like flirt with them and tease himself how he really wanted to be with these chicks. But then it would all end, and he would go home to his wife. And it occurred to me that's what you want with these chicks. You invite these chicks over so they can come over and talk about how they're having sex with all these guys, and you want this thrill of having a chick next to you telling you all this stuff, just like Howard Stern likes this. And I don't really understand what he's doing. I don't get it. Maybe it's just ratings, but I think there's like an underlying thrill. It's like a vicarious thrill, if you will.
Interesting.
And I don't even I'd want to have him come in and explain what he gets out of it by being teased by these girls and surrounding himself with these girls that he can't have.
Well, actually, Howard Stern did have some of those guests, even though he proclaimed he was faithful.
Oh, you might know that because a lot of those guests were...
I slept with some of the same women.
Because a lot of them were from the porn industry, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't want to get in that. But the thing is, I think that's something going on, that you have this, like, you feel like this man of power because you have like this whole, computer set up and you broadcast,
Right.
and so like
My NTV network.
yeah, you have your own network here, so you're gonna invite like all these hot chicks, and you're just gonna like get them to talk about their sex life, and it's gonna get you off on some sort of level, and I don't know what it is. I haven't figured that out. Like, what do you and Howard get out of all that? But it does something for you. So that's why I was thinking, and the next step is, what did Howard do? What did he bring to his TV show that was brilliant, that gave him all those high ratings?
He asked the questions that everyone was thinking,
But he did something else. What did he put in front of the cameras that America hadn't had yet?
porn stars?
Lesbians.
Lesbians.
Right? He brought them in, and they would do like these contrived little sketches where they would always end up doing like mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. And, and then everybody would get all excited because two hot chicks in bikinis would be kissing, right? Which today is kind of cliche, or it's like passé.
Yeah.
But like 15 years ago, that was huge, right? That was worth paying pay-per-view for, right? So I was thinking, that's your next step. You need to bring in like two hot lesbians. No, just to interview them during the week, like on a Wednesday afternoon. You need to bring in two hot lesbians, right? And have them like sit on each other's laps, and your ratings will go through the roof. And you'll love it, just like Howard did. So that was my thought.
There's a question from the chat room. They're getting antsy.
Oh.
If God can turn the water into blood in Egypt...
Who's asking this?
AMC.
Oh, okay.
Your friend.
His questions are not questions. His questions are answers why he doesn't want to keep Torah.
If God can change water into blood, why can't he make Mary pregnant by Immaculate Conception?
He could. But he didn't. He can do anything he wants. You can't put a limitation on God. You can't say there's something that God is not capable of doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean anything. The question is, did he? And the answer is no. And the answer is because he says he won't, right? He could theoretically, but he says he won't.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. He's a man of his word. Or he's okay. The next thing, can we keep going back to, or is there more
keep
stuff?
going. No, that's it.
All right, so that was the first thing I wanted to get off mention. The next thing is that you followed up, because I said to you during the talk about about you had that woman here, and I said, and she spoke, and she said the thing about sex addictions.
Yes.
And she thinks that's all nonsense.
Yes.
And blah 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 blah. And I said, you should hook up with this woman, and just to follow up, I hooked him up with this woman.
Yeah.
And what happened?
And we're going to do an interview in 6 days.
So before the next time that you tune in to see Torah Talks here with me, you're going to have a chance to see this woman.
Yes.
And the interesting thing is, this woman went out with me.
That is interesting.
And she talked about it with you.
Yes.
On the phone or an email?
Email.
Email. What did she say?
She said that you were Shomer Nagia and that you didn't touch and that you took your Torah seriously and that you're a wild and crazy guy. And
she said that?
I don't remember everything. And what were your memories? She's a former rock star, has become a therapist and a sex addiction counselor, right?
Right, exactly. You'll talk to her about all those things.
Yeah.
I'm actually interested to see how that interview goes. What was your question to me?
Well, you said on Facebook that you were going to talk about...
The only thing I wanted to mention was that I read on your blog that you said we only went out twice. And I just wanted to say, for the record, we went out 3 times.
Okay.
And I even remember. Because one date, the first date was in the Beverly Center.
Okay. The
second date was, we went for lunch at Milky Way. And the last date was at dinner. We went to that Chinese place down the street. You know that one? A Shanghai something or another. And she paid.
All 3?
Fist bump.
What year was this?
This was right after I broke up. She was probably the first woman I dated after I broke up with that. I talk about a lot. I was dating that woman who was in the conversion program.
Yeah.
For 2 years.
Yeah.
And then we ended.
Yeah.
And she, I think this was the first woman I dated. So this was like 6 years ago. It was in the end of 2004.
AMC is pretty raunchy.
Well, you know what, dude? Tone it down.
Yeah.
Drop it down a notch.